This week, Hunter Biden's business associate, Devon Archer, testified behind closed doors to the House Oversight Committee. They just released the transcript of that interview, and here is a write-up. This is from CBS about the findings. The GOP-led House Oversight and Accountability Committee released a 141-page transcript of its interview earlier this week with Devon Archer, a former business partner of Hunter Biden, who testified about his business dealings with President Biden's son. Archer testified that Hunter Biden was selling the brand, and it was the elder Biden who brought the most value to the brand, according to the transcript. Archer told the committee staff and lawmakers, quote, "I think Burisma would have gone out of business if it didn't have the brand attached to it." Then Representative Dan Goldman, Democrat of New York, who was elected this last midterm cycle, asked Archer if he had any knowledge that Joe Biden had any direct involvement with Burisma, and Archer replied, no. Of course, the whole point of that first statement is that he didn't need direct knowledge of anything at Burisma. He provided the brand. And according to Archer, the brand is what kept the company a company. Right. In response to questions from Congressman Goldman about the brand's alleged impact, Archer said that it appeared to shield Burisma because people would be intimidated to mess with them. It was an energy holdings company, right? And if you have connects with the executive of the United States, then that makes you a lot more bulletproof in your industry than you would be without that, obviously. In a separate line of questioning by Republican Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, Archer was asked whether the brand was about Dr. Jill Biden, a great doctor, a fantastic doctor. Jill
she's
Biden.
a wonderful
She's a wonderful doctor. She should be the Surgeon General. Said she's just First Lady. Or anyone else. You're talking about Joe Biden. Is that fair to say? Yeah, that's fair to say. So the brand was Joe Biden. He lays that out very explicitly. Again, this is taken from a transcript of a closed-door hearing. Archer, according to the transcript, also testified that the elder Biden was put on speakerphone with business contacts, potential business associates, including foreign national, maybe 20 times during the course of Archer's and Hunter's business relationship. Joe Biden was put on the phone to sell the brand, Archer said. So whether you're talking specifics is not the point, as we're going to find out later in a video that we'll show you. Part of what was delivered is the brand, he said. I mean, it's like anything, if you're Jamie Dimon's son or any CEO, I think that's what we're talking about, is that there was a brand being delivered along with other capabilities and reach. Yes, asked what the Bidens talked about when Joe Biden was on speakerphone, Archer responded, "Say, where are you? How's the weather? How's the fishing? How's the whatever?" But, it was very casual conversations. Of course, what he's also testifying is that the nature of the conversations is not of paramount importance. What's of paramount importance is that you have a close line of communication to the executive, right? That's why, the mob doesn't really talk business when they're out at the restaurant with the cigars and the wine. They're not talking about who's next on the hit list when they're out in public, right? But those are the meetings. It's a powwow, right?
Right.
Asked what the Bidens talk about when Joe Biden was on speakerphone, Archer responded, "Say, how's the weather, whatever." Oh, sorry, I did that same thing. Archer was also asked if then Vice President Biden regularly checked in on his son, who's admitted he'd had issues with drugs. "Every day," Archer replied, but asked whether he had ever heard them discuss the substance of Hunter's business, he responded, no. Now, while the speakerphone calls were described as casual conversations, Archer, also testified he believed that there may be more involved. I think the calls were, that's what it was. They were calls to talk about the weather, and that was signal enough to be powerful. Exactly. After Archer was interviewed Monday, before the transcript was available for independent review, Goldman said Archer testified Hunter was selling the illusion of access to his father, which is a lie. He was not selling the illusion of access to his father. He was selling the brand, which is access to his father, right? So Dan Goldman, just a little snake, obviously.
On the face of it, what does Joe Biden think is going on when he's on speakerphone at his crackhead son's business meeting? That he's just on there to talk about the weather? It's like the mob. You look at mob conversations. Hey, what's going on over there? All right, yeah. They're not gonna. He said Joe Biden in a mixed company of foreign nationals is not going to be like, you motherfuckers better pay.
Yeah,
like,
right,
what did you think he's going to do? All he has to do is be like, hey, yes, I'm here. I'm Joe Biden. What's up? Bye.
Right, bye. Right, exactly. Hope the weather's nice. You know,
That's it. That's all he has to do. What, the fucking Carlo Gambino has to make an explicit threat?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Hey, how are you, boys? I hope everything's working out over there.
Right.
See you later. Right? He doesn't
Mission
have to say
accomplished.
anything else. What was he saying, Goodfellas? Paulie didn't move fast because he didn't have to move for anybody.
Right. Exactly. So in addition to testifying before Congress, Archer also sat down with Tucker Carlson for his new Twitter show, in which Tucker produced a letter that Joe Biden had written to him.
How many times do you think you met Joe Biden during the course of your relationship with Hunter?
How many times? I should have this off the top of my head since I've been asked so many times. Probably same thing, 20.
So I got one last
probably the
question
same
for you.
thing I
and we'll do
testified
much
under
longer
oath. That's a good
interview
answer
and
to
get the
go with.
entire story, but we
Like,
found this
if
letter.
you said it under oath,
kind of
you should
amazing.
probably go
It's
with
from-
that again.
Stick with it. Yeah.
Stick with it. Yeah, exactly. Don't go changing it the day after. Good call.
January 20th, 2011, which I think puts you in your late 30s, mid to late 30s.
Right.
Okay, so you're a younger man. This is from the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, to you personally, and it's personalized here at the bottom. Devon Archer, Rosemont Seneca Partners, that was your partnership with Hunter Biden in Georgetown. Dear Devin, I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Hu Jintang, who was running China at that point. I hope I get a chance to see you again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joseph R. Biden Jr. P.S. Handwritten, happy you guys are together. So there are many levels here. But here's the vice president.
P.S. You get the fucking money yet? P.S. Where's the fucking money?
Listen, it's your job to make sure my idiot son doesn't put that fucking money up his nose. You understand?
Right, exactly.
You take the leather duffel bag. Don't let him get a hold of it.
Right.
of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was...
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little weird.
This guy's a little fucking weird, this Archer guy, because it's a very friendly conversation that they have. Like, it's not contentious. Like, Tucker's kind of grilling him, but he's doing a good job because you get the sense that they kind of like each other, despite the fact that they're kind of adversaries, right, in this interview. It doesn't really play that way. It's kind of a weird vibe, right? Because he doesn't seem all that defensive. Like, Archer seems really happy to be there. He obviously is, or he wouldn't have come on.
You know, at the rate Tucker's going, they're going to find him with his head stuffed up his ass, and they're going to rule it a suicide.
Exactly.
Though, right?
Yeah, well, it was kind of the beginning of our partnership, and he was thanking me and thanking Hunter, I think, at the end of the day, for bringing this idea of this government regulatory strategic advisory business into the private equity world. And I think he was excited about the prospects for Hunter, and he was just thanking me. I think it was a nice gesture.
Nice gesture, indeed. Indeed. Well, look, I mean, the thing about it is, like, the overall take on this case has not really changed because it was just obvious from the outset that Hunter Biden wouldn't have been within 1,000 miles of that energy board if his father were not the vice president. So that's influence peddling right there. And the fact that they never explicitly talked about anything makes this case difficult to prosecute, and it makes it probably difficult to impeach under normal circumstances. But these are not normal circumstances.
It's exactly like the mob.
But these
That's
are not
how.
normal
Because what are you
circumstances.
going to get? What are you going to get on the recording?
Right. What are you going to get? Right. Exactly. But, the fact is these aren't normal circumstances. Number one, the Democrats set a precedent by going after Trump for that phone call with Zelensky, the perfect call, which that shouldn't have been impeachable. And then it's further complicated by the fact that this is an energy board of Ukraine, a country that now Biden is looting the treasury and sending it out the door to Ukraine to agitate for World War III. So that adds another layer of complication. So, like, under normal circumstances, I don't think it would be very easy to make a case for impeachment based on what you have. What you have is basically standard issue corruption that most presidents get away with on a daily basis. What makes these extenuating circumstances are A, the precedent that's been set in recent years, and B, World War III, where the government that is the beneficiary of billions of dollars that are being sent out the door for World War III happens to be the country where the president's son sat on an energy board and apparently funneled money to his father through his share of the take, i.e. 10% for the big guy, i.e. $83,000 a month, a salary that was cut in half after Joe Biden was no longer VP, right? I mean, there's just so much evidence to say that, the Biden family in general was using Hunter as the front man to profit off of his dealings in Ukraine. And Ukraine is very central to world affairs right now. So under these circumstances, it probably is impeachable.
I
mean, they're going to do it. They're getting ready to do it.
I know we're very big in Ireland, so our Irish friends. I am not besmirching your wonderful race, but in America, when the Irish came over after the potato famine in a lot of major cities, they wound up getting involved in politics, partly because not only were they so numerous, the other immigrant groups in places where you had a large number of immigrants like New York or Chicago or Philadelphia, they got behind Irish politicians because they were the only ones who arrived already speaking English. So they got behind them to represent all of their interests. And you wound up with this famous machine style politics in a lot of these cities that was largely dominated by the Irish. Before you had a stereotype of a Jewish lawyer, the stereotype was an Irish lawyer. Because a lot of them would get their law degrees and then go into politics. The Biden family is a throwback to that. There's a throwback to old urban machine politics style family corruption. It's a throwback to a time when this would have been de rigueur in Chicago politics circa 1940, right? In a lot of ways, Joe Biden's governing style, such as it is a throwback to that kind of offhand corruption. The thing is, you got a guy now who was the vice president and the president at this point, applying this Tammany Hall style Ray Donovan kind of method to running the free world.
Right. Exactly. And, the president that Biden served under had at least a head on his shoulders in terms of how far we were willing to go for Ukraine. Obama famously said Ukraine will always mean more to Russia than it means to the U.S., which is why we're not willing to start World War III over it. We're not willing to spill blood over it. And now you have Biden, who was his point man on Ukraine as VP with these dealings, and now he becomes president and he's Rambo on Ukraine, right? What is that?
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
It's a little excerpt from one of those phone calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Please clap.